So it's my junior year of college at Drexel University, and I'm walking home casually from a study group at 1:30 in the morning, and I hear these running footsteps running up behind me, and my mind goes into immediately like that startled fight or flight. I know something is not right. Something is about to go really wrong. So on today's episode, Season 1, Episode 5, I'm going to talk about how I was held up at gunpoint and how it changed my life forever in the mindset of abundance and prosperity, and opened up my heart to compassion to those who come from a mindset of scarcity and lack and addiction. See you on the inside. Welcome to the Blueprint of Living an Extraordinary Life podcast. My name is Theo Tilton. I'm a licensed New Thought practitioner, public speaker, certified life mastery consultant, and development life coach. Each week, I'm on a mission to provide concrete practices in the art of being and doing and getting that physical, reliable result with a system of support, leaving you moved, inspired, and empowered on your way to living an extraordinary life. Thank you for spending time with me today. Now let's head over to the Blueprint of Living an Extraordinary Life. Oh my gosh, so today, this particular episode, this is one where this kind of falls into a category of those memories that we suppress because there's such an intensity to them. I'm going to be bringing you back to a time when I was held up at gunpoint as a student at Drexel University. So it is like 1:30 a.m. I'm walking home from a study group on campus at Drexel University, and I'm living in this little cute part of West Philadelphia called Powelton Village. It's basically right on campus, and I'm on North 34th Street, and I'm on this block that's approaching Powelton Avenue. I think it's called that. And it's like silent. And I believe it might have been like a Sunday night. So really there was nothing going on. And as I'm walking, and in this section of Philadelphia, it even had like that original, like those blue stone, those huge slabs of stone for sidewalk. It's a really nice old mansion district in West Philly. Cute little town, cute little section of town. And I'm noticing footsteps. And they're getting louder, and then they're actually starting to be repetitious, like running, and I can hear this running footsteps behind me, and something doesn't feel right, and I quickly turn my head around, turn backwards to see what's going on behind me, and I see this young black man who looks like he was completely desperate, in need of money for something, for sure. I'm not sure what it was for. I'm not sure if it was for family or if it was for some type of an addiction. And it doesn't really matter at this point, right? And I'm a junior at Drexel, and I'm fully entrenched in what I'm doing. I'm fully entrenched in being the best possible student that I could be, getting good grades. And I also had a side hustle of myself to make money. And why do I say any of that? Well, it's like something inside, intuition was like danger. So my heart begins to pound. It's like that, almost like I was going on a roller coaster. You know how you get to the top of a roller coaster and you feel your heart dun, 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 and like it almost feels like at one moment where you stop breathing and you can feel like as if time stops, and I can feel like the pulse in my neck, and I definitely experienced the fight or flight inside of me. And then all of a sudden, as I'm staring at this guy who seems very agitated, a gun comes out and points it directly into my left eye. Now, he is not touching my face, but it is close enough that with my eye, I can see down the barrel of the gun. And he's requesting all of my money. And I start getting very nervous. And I'm not sure why this happened, but I actually began to chuckle a little. And I couldn't believe I was doing that. Why was I chuckling in front of this guy who's holding this, I think it was a Beretta, and down in front of my face asking me for money? I mean, it was definitely being very aggressive, pointing this gun in my face and shaking it like horizontally and sideways in front of my eyeball socket, like, what the fuck are you laughing at, punk? And something came over me, and I simply said to him, listen, you're definitely scaring me, and I'm not laughing at you, but rather I'm laughing at the situation. Like, I somehow was able to conjure up this confident voice inside of me. And I said, I'm laughing at the situation. You're asking me for money, and I would give you everything I have. Literally, if I had $1,000 in my wallet, I would give it to you, all of it. The truth is I'm a starving student. My parents don't make enough money to pay my tuition. I'm on scholarship here. The college pays for everything. It pays for my food. It pays for my rent. And I was like, I'll give you my wallet right now. I opened up my wallet and I was like, but there's literally only $1 in my wallet. And I proceeded to pull the wallet out of my pocket so he could see my wallet. And I opened up my wallet, and you could totally see as I was proceeded to spread open the wallet, there was exactly $1 in the wallet. I was like, this is the only thing I have left to my name. Now, I did have credit cards. I did have debit cards and things like that in my wallet. And what he didn't know was that he could potentially have access to thousands of dollars in my bank account, right? But all that he knew is that I had $1 on me. And so I gave it to him. I handed it over to him, and he quickly, very, very quickly, crumbled up the dollar into like a ball, and threw it back in my face. And he said, I don't need your fucking dollar. And then for a brief moment, I noticed that the dollar hit the ground. And something inside of me, I don't know if it was just instinctual or if it was just automatic reflex, I went to go down to pick up the dollar. And then something stopped me. Something stopped me from doing this. And as I'm bending down, I realized, what am I doing? Why am I doing that? And I looked back up over my shoulder as the guy was raising the gun to crack me over the back of the head. And then I realized that he was going to try to knock me out. And I looked up at him, and for no reason at all, he then quickly ran. And he completely he ran the other direction, and I watched him run away. And I decided to leave the dollar there. There was no reason for me to pick up the dollar and put it back in my wallet. So I began to walk in the direction of campus, and I got really suspicious that maybe somebody would be watching me or trying to follow me or see where I go back home. And so instead of going back to my apartment, even though I lived on campus and I lived on a very busy street, I decided to walk towards the dormitories. And I pretended that I lived in one of the dormitories. And I went into the lobby and sat down for about 10 minutes. And then I reported the incident to university security. And about an hour later, I returned back to my apartment where I had a complete and utter meltdown. I realized in that moment that I could have been killed over a dollar. It completely changed my perspective on the desperation of humanity and what one would be willing to do to simply get by. It's not that it instilled fear in me, but rather it instilled in me a fire to make sure that I never got into a position where I needed to fight and cheat and steal and simply to get $1. And I learned a very valuable lesson that day, that there is an abundance available to anyone and everyone, but it requires a level of thinking that does not come from lack or scarcity. You see, I survived being mugged in Philadelphia at gunpoint, and I have used that experience to fuel a fire within me, such that I see where people come from, where people could potentially come from when we are in the mindset of lack and scarcity and struggle and desperation and potentially addiction and these other aspects of life. And so it's been my mission to teach and to coach so that people can see and experience for themselves the abundance and the prosperity that exists in the entire world that surrounds us. And so I've changed and I've transformed this experience that I've had, where I could easily have turned this into a victimization, being violated, being accosted, being subjected to a particular circumstance that could have spiraled me down. And instead, I have used this experience to fuel me and to have compassion And so, what are some areas of your life that you've experienced that out of nowhere have shifted you? That out of seemingly the blue, completely from nothing, an event has completely changed your life in such a way that you have used that to fuel yourself to transform others around you. I want to hear from you. I want to know if you have had experience like that for yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be a similar experience to what I've had. It could be something completely different. And so what you could do is leave me a comment. You could on Anchor, anchor.fm. If you're listening to this podcast through Anchor, you can leave me a message and or send me a question, and I will be sure to include that in a future podcast. So the moral of the story here is we have the power within us. We have the power within us under any circumstances. That there is a power within us that is bigger and greater than any condition, any circumstance, any situation, any event. So as I am speaking this podcast right now, as I'm recording this podcast right now, in June of 2020, we have all of these events that have happened in 2020 so far. We've had we've had COVID, we've had the lockdown, we've had the economy collapse, we've had all of the protests that are going on with the police brutality and Black Lives Matter and all of these scenarios that have been happening in 2020. And what have you made 2020 mean for yourself? What fuel has this given in your life such that you can make a difference? I know that I started this podcast in 2020. I used all of this shift, all of the events that were going on to shift me into a brand new realm of opportunity and possibility that had me be doing something completely new, something completely fresh, something that allowed an outlet to be fully self-expressed. So I invite you to look at this for yourself. Where have you taken the opportunity? Where have you created a brand new possibility? Where have you looked to change the script? You are the author of the book of your life. And as we turn the pages and we keep writing our script of life, everything that is in the future pages of our book of life are completely empty, and we get to write. We get to write that book. We get to write that script. We get to write what it is going to be. And so what is your story? What is your story? What are you writing? And maybe there are events from the past part of your life where you get to rewrite, you get to edit, you get to look back at events and completely re-script what they meant to you. And as we begin to change the meaning of things that happen in our lives, we can completely change the outcome of who we're being in the world in the present moment and who we become into the future. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Chat with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me and listening to today's episode. I trust that there is something that you experienced on today's podcast that has left you touched, moved, and inspired. I would love to connect with you. If you're an Anchor member, you can leave me a message and leave any kind of question that I can answer on future podcasts. If you'd like to hear more about Life Mastery, Dream Builder, or other personal development programs that I coach with my clients, you can email me directly at theo@theotilton.com, and you can find me on all social media channels, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. My handle is Theo Tilton. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Theo Tilton Coaching. Thank you.